Well, it didn't take long for the conspiracy theories to start about the Navy Yard shooting, and it only took literally a few hours longer than that for the beginning of the end times apocalypse type theories. This is video of Matthew Hagee, the second generation, at least second generation extremist right wing Christian pastor, who does this segment called Hagee's Hotline, where he's sitting kind of like in a control room somewhere, and he responds to viewer questions. Now, similarly to when we look at the Pat Robertson 700 Club audience questions, Lewis, it's very hard for me to believe that those are real questions, even though guest host Ben Kinchlow told us that they are indeed. The same applies to the Hagee questions. The question here was, what are some signs that we are approaching the end times? Here is the answer that Pastor Matthew Hagee gave.
Dora wants to know, Pastor, everyone talks about signs of the end times. What are some of the signs, and should we be aware of them? Dora, pick up the newspaper. What Jesus said here on the Mount of Olives is taking place here each and every day. Let me give you some of these signs. In Matthew 24, 5 through 14, he said there would be wars and there would be rumors of wars. Right now, just in the past few weeks, Syria has been at war. They've killed over 100,000 of their own people. Do you know what was rumored over the last 2 weeks? That we, the United States, would get in that war. Russia then said, well, if you do that, we'll do this. And we had rumors of World War III right before our very eyes. That's a fulfillment of Matthew 24 that is being played out in your headlines every day. Here's one of the last signs that Jesus talked about in Matthew 24. He said that there would be lawlessness. Yesterday, an armed gunman, whether he be a disgruntled employee, whether he be mentally deranged, regardless of his motive, he lawlessly took guns into a workplace and lawlessly killed 12 co-workers and injured dozens of others.
Yeah, so this has there ever been listen to what is being said here. When there is war or rumors of war, we can expect the end times to be near. Can you think of a time, Lewis, in history period, where there hasn't been either war or rumors of war?
No, I do not believe any time in recent history that has ever been the case.
Yeah, and of course, the idea that the Navy Yard shooting is a sign of the apocalypse coming, this seems like real red meat for this kind of crowd, if we even believe that this is a real question. But the answer is often just factually flawed. I mean, Syria has been at war a lot longer than a few weeks. There has been discussion of a military incursion from the U.S. for several weeks. But there's been a civil war in Syria for about 2.5 years at this point. This, to me, is a version of cold reading. Remember, Lewis, when we had the psychic in the studio and she didn't really do a good job of reading you? And it was mostly because you didn't buy in. In other words, many times when it appears as though someone is really a psychic and knows a lot about you, what really is happening is that you're searching for the tidbits they give you to find some kind of a match. And that's a lot of what goes on with the religious quotes that Matthew Hagee is giving, because, you know, Corinthians this and that, and John and Paul, and who knows what other verses he's talking about. It's about taking something from there and retroactively fitting in today's reality into that. And we know, Lewis, you could take almost any Bible verse and find something today in society that would make it appear to be incredibly relevant.
Right, and he's as vague as possible, and the talk of the end times is just more keeping people afraid, keeping people going to church, keeping people engaged, and that's the whole point. No
question about it. That's the idea, and it works really well, actually. If you look at church collections and the amount of money that goes into both religious programming like this and so many of the other things we talk about, it's very effective. Fear that is based on things that you cannot really disprove rationally works really well, because in great part people think, well, I don't want to take a chance. I mean, this could be real and I want to be covered myself.